It's pretty obvious why the Acceltra is one of the most popular primary weapons in Warframe. It's easy to use, it packs a punch, but unfortunately that also means that it has an abysmal Riven disposition. Today, my friends, it's time to update the Acceltra with the Galvanized Mods. As always, my name is Leyzar and I got a cheap setup, something affordable that most should be able to build, and then we're gonna ramp it up with Galvanized Mods, Prime Mods. We're gonna head on over to Steel Baths to see some actual real world performance, and we're gonna top it all off with Warframe buffs and the conclusions on this glorious weapon. Spoiler alert, it's amazing. That said though, please keep in mind that my building guides usually take a more new player friendly approach. I'm gonna be taking my time and explaining whatever I feel is necessary for newer Tenno. So in case you're a vet and you already know most of this stuff, please bear with me, or you can skip ahead. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Acceltra. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped. And for that, just a couple of our usual free shots. The Acceltra is an automatic primary weapon which plays pretty much like your standard assault rifle, but this, as you can see, is no standard assault rifle. It doesn't fire hit scan bullets, it fires explosive mini rockets which will be detonating upon contact with a surface or an enemy in a 4-meter radius. But they do have two quirks to them. First of all, they need 7 meters to arm, so 7 meters worth of flight time. That means if I go in close, I'm only getting 35% of the total damage per projectile, as the explosion accounts for about 65% of the total damage. That's one thing. The other thing, you see all these knockbacks? No, those are not guaranteed impact procs. The Acceltra has guaranteed push-away effects, if you believe. Yes, my friends, guaranteed push-away effects. Now, these push-away effects are not really beneficial to the player because they never really stop the target from shooting back at you, per se. No, they just push the targets away for some reasons, which can be good to minimize the whole self-stagger system and perhaps help with the arming time of the projectiles, but in actual gameplay, it's just bloody annoying. So do bear that one in mind. The Acceltra, in terms of usability, has basically no recoil, but it has one major issue, and I'm guessing you fantastic people already noticed the issue. But if not, you're just gonna notice it now. Ammo. Bone dry on ammo, so that's a bit of a concern. Of course, this issue can be solved in a number of different ways. You can drop a pad, oh heaven forbid, drop a pad of ammo, like so. No big deal, you can make plenty of them at a time, you get the blueprint from your dojo. Or you can use carrier with ammo case, or you can simply use the weapon itself in the weapon excel slot and adapt your mods. It's not really that big of a deal, but it is a concern you should be aware of. Reload is also super quick. Now let's have a closer look at stats to see exactly what we're dealing with. Mod capacity 60 out of 60, and if your comes with only 30 out of 30, as it should, jump into actions, plug in that Auto King Catalyst. It's always a discussion, is it worth for me to go all out and fully build a weapon? Because you know, it's gonna take some time and it's gonna take a bit of an investment. First of all, you got the Auto King Catalyst, then you got the Forma. Now granted, you don't need 6 Forma like mine has, but you're still gonna need about 4 or 5 depending on what kind of mod you have. Then you need the empty arcane slot to be unemptied, you know, you need the arcane itself, you need the adapter, then the weapon excel slot needs to be unlocked because it is worth it. So is it worth investing all this time and energy and resources in the Acceltra? 100% yes. Now listen, it's not the best primary weapon in Warframe. It would be hard for it to even make a top 10 currently, but it's still one of those weapons that you need to have an experience in Warframe, one that I fully recommend. Back to our sheep. So I said like 4 or 5 Forma maximum, just go for V symbols and of course the symbol of your Riven. A Vazarin polarity might not be a bad idea because of Galvanized Aptitude, but in general, when you need to Forma something, simply Forma for the highest drain mod you have. For example, you want Galvanized Chamber, 16 drain. Of course, we're gonna Forma with a V symbol or Mudrai. Accuracy doesn't really matter because as you saw there, the explosion is good. We're not really gonna mod for heavy caliber either because it kind of ruins the accuracy of the bullets. One, and second, there's so many mods right now in Warframe which are powerful for primary weapons. You don't really need this one. I would advise against it in the case of the Acceltra. Critical chance is beauty flat, 32% with a 2.8x critical multiplier. That's way above average. Just so you can see how much way, we're gonna be using critical delay. Get it? Way delay. I'm sorry, I'll stop now. 96% with just critical delay alone, and that minus 20%. Fire rate is a bit of a concern. Fire rate is 12, magazine of 48. Alarming, reload at 2 seconds, which is not that bad. Riven disposition of 1 out of 5. you can still get Rivens which are worth it. You can still get Rivens which are still gonna bump up the power of the Acceltra. You're gonna need a double positive with a negative. However, it's gonna be hard to come across such a Riven, and if you do come across from a Riven trader, they're gonna charge an arm and a leg for them. Because of Riven disposition, only 1 out of 5, I advise against Rivens for the Acceltra. Let it go up to at least 2, and then we can talk about Riven mods. Status chance of 6%, and there's one thing that I forgot to mention about functionality. This being Gauss's weapon, it has the following gimmick. Your reload speed will be increased by 25% if you reload while you sprint. And if you're using Gauss, 50% increase on that reload speed. So do bear that one in mind. When it comes to the damage layout, you have the following. Impact! Yay, impact! We're gonna be using internal bleeding, right? Well, no, not exactly. Now, this refers to the projectile physically making contact with your target. The radial attack, the big explosion, accounts for most of the damage, and as you can see, it has no impact. Now, even if I was to go with critical delay on a build, like so, you see my attack speed or my fire rate is 9.6, which is still not enough, not low enough to get the double benefit out of internal bleeding. Not to mention the fact that the explosions will never benefit from internal bleeding. And for these reasons, and the fact that I'm already at 96% critical chance with critical delay alone, Hunter Munitions still outweighs internal bleeding for the Acceltra. Now, let's have a look at a standard build. Damage acceleration, multi-shot with split chamber, critical chance and critical damage through critical delay, as well as vital sense. We also got the 260-60 vital mods, malignant force, and rhyme rounds. Rhyme rounds you can get from doing spy missions, malignant force you can get from corrupted vor in the void. And yes, you do need both of them. And of course, for the reasons already outlined, Hunter Munitions is present on the build. When it comes to the weapon Excel slot, this one is definitely worth unlocking. You got 2 solid options. You're either gonna go with Vigilante Supplies because of the ammo issues. The chance to enhance critical hits is nice, but you can get it from the Sentinel, so it's not a big deal. On the other hand, you can get the Panzervolpaphyla to apply vital for you. And if you do that, then definitely go with Vigilante Supplies. Get that crit bonus, which is, it's not huge, okay, but it is definitely something. And you can also drop vital on the weapon and make something like corrosive and heat. But for the time being, my favorite still remains Terminal Velocity, because this one simply makes the weapon a whole lot more usable. It's easier to aim, and guaranteed damage is better than maybe damage. Back to the build. You still have 1 slot left on it, and this one is what I like to call an option slot. Plug into this one whatever you feel comfortable with. A safe option, a cheap option for a newer player, and one that will always get you good results. Vigilante, Armament, 60% multi-shot, and of course you get that bonus of increasing critical hits, which of course will stack together with the Excellus mod Vigilante supplies. This is not a bad idea. A better idea would be to go over 100% critical chance. Considering that critical multiplier at 6.2x is not a terrible idea to go for something like Argon Scope. Nowadays is very easy to obtain. Do Deimos bounties and you're gonna get this one no problem. If you can't be arsed, I think it's a couple of plat from the PC trade chat. For all intents and purposes, please check Warframe Market for more appropriate prices. You know what? Even Hammer Shot is definitely not a bad idea. Hey, status chance and critical damage. What's not to like in this case? Ever since this one was buffed, it's no longer a meme mod. We're gonna test the weapon like so, and then we're gonna make a few changes here and there. Just to gotta make sure that mag doesn't have anything to skew the test results, and we're good. The level 120 corrupted heavy goons as per usual. Ooh, look at them all over the place. Go for headshots, make sure you get the explosion damage. No explosion damage, no GG, but as you can see, when you do get that explosion, it's absolutely beautiful. Look at all the damage everywhere. Fantastic. You can clump them up together with a Nidus or a Vauban or whatever else you like. As you can see, the weapon still packs one hell of a punch, and this is with normal mods. There's no special mods here. I'm not even using a single prime or galvanized mods. Not one of the mods is expensive or hard to get. But again, my ammo, gone. All gone, mama. So that is something that you need to bear in mind. For me, on a personal level, dropping pads has never really been an issue. I do it on a reflex. I have it bounded to my mouse, and you can do that too in the options screen. But some people hate the fact that this one is not all that ammo efficient. If we're gonna max out the weapon, of course we need to introduce some galvanized mods. Galvanized Chamber, duh, and Galvanized Aptitude. Now this one works a treat. What are we gonna have on our targets? Let's think about it. Well, I'm gonna have Impact, I'm gonna have Vital, I'm gonna have Slash, and of course I will be having a little bit of Puncture as well. That is plenty. Again, an option, Panzerwolperpfeiler, drop the 60-60 viral mods. Yeah, because you don't need that anymore. The Panzerwolperpfeiler will be applying your virals, even though she's not 100% reliable 100% of the time, but there you go. And you can make something like corrosive on the weapon, or corrosive heat is always a good idea if you're going down to Deimos. Enemies on Deimos are immune to the viral status effect. Not all of them, but most of them. We're gonna test the weapon like so, and then we're gonna head on over to Steel Path. One more time, the Corrupted Heavy Goons level 120. Bear in mind that in order for a galvanized build to fully wet its feet, so to speak, you're gonna need a couple of kills just to get those stacks going. And thanks to the knockback effect, I'm gonna be knocking off straight off the platform. Take a look at the slashes, beautiful slashes. You don't need a ton of viral effects on your target. 2-3 will be more than enough. And I can already feel, and probably you can see the weapon being a lot more potent than before. Beautiful, absolutely fantastic. Now, let's see how the weapon performs in a normal, average, everyday Steel Path mission. What do you guys say? We're going to the Void? Because if we're going Void, we get to face corrupted enemies, which technically should be the best to test against. No problem whatsoever, even though I'm not even close to being maxed out on my galvanized stacks. This weapon hits like a bloody truck. Look at all those procs on the Corrupted Heavy Goon in actual normal Steel Path missions. The AoE comes in handy when it comes to tight corridors such as this one. Aiming for the feet is something I haven't tackled up until this point. From my point of view, this being a critical weapon, I'd rather aim for the walls and get the explosion headshot damage than aim for the feet. It's not a terrible idea, you can definitely do something like that, but I would advise against it. As you can see, it's not that hard to hit moving targets when you got explosions on them. Look at the procs. I just put a couple of hits in there and boom, baby! You can hide behind a pillar or something like that and wait for your targets to die if we're talking about targets that actually hurt. Like that Corrupted Heavy Goon level 133, is it? Something like that. So as you can see, my friends, Steel Path performance is not really much of an issue. Ammo right now is not a concern. It might be later on, and no, I am still using in the weapon excellence slot terminal velocity because again I believe that it makes the weapon feel, subjectively speaking, a whole lot better. And ammo, as long as you don't spam or don't make some sort of weird super high fire rate build, is gonna be more than enough, as you can see. Take out the shield drone and then everything will fall to pieces like so. And I do believe that's pretty much it for Steel Path. I do recommend the weapon for it. Now, I'm not gonna be recommending the weapon for something like, hey, I wanna do Steel Path survival for 5 hours, cause, you know, I don't know why, but you wanna do that, right? That's not the kind of weapon for that, because it simply doesn't scale all that well. Now, back to the simulacrum. Another aspect that should be pointed out is weapon arcane selection. Which should I go for? Normally I recommend primary merciless. This one will grant its benefit when your targets die under the effects of viral and slash. Primary deadhead will not. But if you're going down to Deimos and you're building your weapon for corrosive and heat, which is definitely not a bad idea, considering that enemies on Deimos are immune to viral, then primary deadhead is no longer a terrible idea. Merciless still rings better to me simply because the weapon does have ammo issues, and this one kind of helps with that. Doesn't completely solve it per se, but plus 100 ammo maximum as soon as you equip the arcane. I got a feeling, however, that most of you guys are going to be using your weapon in tandem with your melee, in which case, primary dexterity is the obvious way to go. I come across a lot of suggestions that ring something like so. Drop your serration because you got the damage from Galvanized Aptitude. Not so fast there. Now that's definitely a good idea if, and this is a very big if, are you going to be fighting level 3000, 4000, 5000 enemies or anything of the sort? If yes, then definitely drop your serration and equip your OP Riven or something of the sort. But if you're gonna do what most of us do, level 50s, 100, I don't know, 200 enemies, keep the front loaded damage as it will reduce your clear time by a significant amount. Build a weapon for the right task, my friends, and only drop front loaded damage if you're gonna be doing super high level enemies, and therefore the scaling is more important. Now, when it comes to Warframe buffs, we're gonna be using the ever so lovely Lady Mirage Prime. Corrosive projection against heavily armored targets is obviously the way to go, but honestly, use whatever aura your build calls for. For example, maybe you want to use Brief Respite, Physique Rejuvenation, or whatever else. If the aura is that important to you, then don't forget about Coaction Drift, which will be increasing the effectiveness of your aura. Arcanes, however, are a lot more impactful. Introducing Arcane Avenger, R5 from the third Eidolon down on Cetus. On damage, a 21% chance for plus 45% critical chance for 12 seconds. It's a bonus additive after applying to your primary, secondary, and to your melee at the exact same time. Now, normally one arcane in a Warframe build should be reserved for the, Warframe. So maybe in here you'll have something like your Energize or maybe some additional armor and all whatnot. But if you want some more front-loaded damage, then definitely consider Arcane Rage, also from the third Eidolon down on Cetus. On Headshot, a 50% chance for a massive 180% damage to primary weapons for 24 seconds. Now, we're going to be spawning in level 160 Corrupted Heavy Goons. We're going to be unpausing them so they can hit me and I can get my glorious buffs. One last trick that you can employ, Sentinel or Companion trick. You got two solid options. You either go for the critical trick, which I will explain, or you simply go for the Panzer Vulpaphyla, so you can get that lovely viral proc. So you don't need to build a weapon for viral, you can simply use a Panzer Vulpaphyla. Now in this case, I'm going to be applying viral with my weapon, it's not an issue. Make sure that on your little Sentinel's weapon, you have the 4 Vigilante mods, Offense, Supplies, Fervor, and Armaments for the 20% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. And yes, my friends, even if that little Sentinel dies and never comes back to life, you will still retain said buff. 840% Eclipse for the use of Empower, and one more time, her ever so lovely clones. Now, of course, the weapon was, well, that's just not cool. Come back here and take it like men. Actually, these are girls, though, but I couldn't say that because that would be weird. So as you can see, my friends, the weapon kicks, that was a single rocket, by the way. That was a single rocket on the target and basically almost killed it. It's an extremely powerful primary weapon. Is it one of the best? No, it's not, like I said at the start, but it's definitely something you need to experience and have in your arsenal. One more time, let's try another set of Corrupted Heavy Goons so we can properly carpet bomb. Look at that. How beautiful is that? My favorite trick of now you see them, now you don't. As for conclusions to this weapon, I love it, man. I 100% fully recommend it. You can build it for Vital Slash, you can build it for Corrosive Feet or something like that. You do have a little bit of leeway when it comes to the build. It does well in Steel Path outside of super high level enemies. And you know what? It's subjectively a joy to use. And you know what? If you love this style of weapon, this style of gameplay, but simply want something with a bit more oomph, if you know what I mean, link the cards right now. As always, my name is Lazar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And if you got any sorts of feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below. You can also catch me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. And if you love the content, hey, consider supporting us via Patreon. Link in the cards right now. Until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.